Oh, you might get a kick out of this little. Ooh. When the doors are closed, when they're locked.
Not once.
Not once? Get out of town.
Nope.
Oh.
How would you feel if I told you that I put my wife on that chair?
Well,
and
first
you
of
had
all,
shit in it?
I wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
I would ask, but it wouldn't bother me. I mean, I just assume people do it everywhere.
I mean, fair, but no, yeah. Specifically, have not.
Like, I'm out in the woods, and I walk by a log, and I'm like, somebody fucking hold on. You know, if they haven't, they should, and maybe it should be me.
Kind of have to take a friend with you, don't you?
Yeah, I know. Well, it's hard to find a girl that will do the stuff that I like to do like that. It's fun. It's an old camera case. You're not against firearms or anything.
Not at all.
So I got this little 380 I like to have in the pocket. But I keep a couple extra mags here.
Yeah. There are
Yeah, probably right now.
at least 10 loaded firearms in this room.
Don't try to hold this joint up.
Yeah, no.
That wouldn't work out too well. So, okay, so we were talking the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you knew I already had a little experience. At least I know how to do this, right? But what, do you like a plug card?
So it's called a punch cut.
I always call it a plug card.
Yeah, it's a punch cut.
Since before you were born, to me it was a plug card.
Yeah.
But you're gonna tell me it's a punch cut.
Yeah. Punch.
Punch cut.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't have to be right.
It's just that's the terminology. It's got its place. It's not my preferred cut. My preferred cut is a V cut. But yeah, the punch definitely has its place. Usually on a box press cigar.
I wish we almost had. Do you have an example of that?
Yeah, I have box press.
This is not going to be just about cigars, and I hope you guys can hear us. Little background ambiance going on here.
Watching a documentary on it. Also, we kind of
Pick that up. You know what I love? My favorite thing, even though again didn't do my whole time in the Corps.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing is to hang out with veterans because there's no, you don't have to worry about anything.
Feelings. Yeah.
Yeah, you say anything.
Your feelings die.
Yeah, anything you want.
Yeah. So if you can see how this is a box press. It's got hard corners and then a flat top.
Yep.
Doing a straight cut, you can. Or you can do a V cut, but typically you'll see people do a punch cut. So they'll take.
You mean a punch cut?
Yeah. We can argue all day.
It's not.
I don't give a shit
No,
what you call
no,
it.
no.
So what they'll do is this cuts a round hole, and they'll dead center it right there, and it keeps the tobacco bits in. It opens up because all you got to do is get through that single layer of tobacco. So that's typically.
I like to take a little plug out of it. Sometimes you'll see me spin this
Mm-hmm.
and dig that out a little bit more.
Yep.
Because you think you don't have to do that, but I find that if you don't do it, in the beginning you'll get little pieces in your mouth that you end up spitting.
Yeah, the little edges of the tobacco leaf or whatever.
What do you think about?
I think that's neat as shit. That is cool. I have not seen a little matchbox like that. I don't think ever.
This is probably close to 100 years old. Compliments of.
So you bought it when you were 10?
Funny dude. Funny. What are you trying to say?
You're old.
I look like Father Time.
Yeah, you're old. That's what
I'm gonna. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna wear a diaper in here next time. That's
Do
all
it.
I'm gonna have. Yeah.
Do it.
I should have one on right now. The way my lower intestines feel after last night. So compliments of Smith Gray and something. Clothiers, New York, Brooklyn, New York, and I believe it's silver.
Yeah, most likely. So that's what it looks like. Let's see.
I can't remember where I got that. I think I might have found that there was this dude. I love talking about him because he was the coolest guy. Carburetor Al, old guy on the East Coast, and he was a hot rodder. And he was a Chevy guy, and he had a bunch of 57 Chevys.
Nice.
And his whole house full of stuff. And he died several years ago. He was one of the first COVID deaths early on.
Okay.
But he was old. He was on oxygen already.
Right, he had some pre-existing issues.
Yeah. But he was like, I don't even know, man, 6'5", big, loud guy, wore a belt with suspenders. Was an engineer, just an all-around brilliant guy. and fun, but he was crass, and a lot of people would get offended by him. And he didn't, he would just say what he thought.
Right.
Boom, and he didn't give a shit.
Good, that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, but big guys like that grow up like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? 'Cause they learn early on. Like, a lot of people won't say anything to them.
Yeah, I was say who's going to tell him.
So when I first met him, we started talking, and he realized that shit wasn't having an effect on me. And then we instantly bonded. And it turned out we had all these interests. He built his own firearms. He was into cameras. He was into model planes. You got to do some work.
Yep. I'll be popping in and out.
I'll talk about it.
Hey guys, welcome to the little side.
So what's cool about this little cigarette case is you have to push this.
Right here. And I got parcels on the way, so sorry about that. Right now, you just got to stand. Absolutely. Enjoy it. Let me know if you guys are interested in cigars and I'll run it through it.
Can you imagine it? It's, you know, the rest of the
Oh yeah.
Nobody expects a Marine to know how to do anything.
You know, having low expectations like that works in your favor. Man, I got a low flame here. Hey, it's not working.
Let me get you a torch.
Oh, it's gonna work. Oh, let's really try a torch actually, it'd be fun. Usually works fine, except for now.
Here's some longer matches.
Cool, let's try this torch thing. This is butane?
Yes.
And what were you, how does this thing work? I'm freaking palsiated.
So you flip the cap. This is a Jetline brand pocket torch is what it's called. So you flip the cap up and you click the button. And then make sure you use the heat from the flame, not the flame itself.
Yeah. You know, it's funny where we're at in the world. Because this is like something you would see in like a 70s science fiction movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, oh, they're going to have that one day.
Hi, sir. Welcome back.
Very sad.
16. 17. Well, stay. Some of them have 10 over there, but they don't have
And I thought I fixed it in the meantime, so I was like, all right. Well, cool, man. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you too, buddy.
You too.
Tell me about this. This is a house cigar that's, we showed this, these were the cigars were in the glass jars
Yes.
in the first video.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Matt, by the way, the owner of the Roadside Cigar Lounge here in Pahrump, Nevada.
Yep. Located at 1971 Pahrump Valley Boulevard.
1971.
That is a good year for
It's a
you.
good year. I can remember a lot of stuff from when I was young. In 1969, when, you know, I was going to say Lance Armstrong.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
When Lance Armstrong, with one nut, took his first steps on the moon. When George Armstrong comes, I don't know who the fuck I'm talking about. Neil Armstrong.
Yeah. I think maybe the 70s had an effect on you, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I was just 3 years old, or barely. But I remember because my mom, we had a black and white TV on a cart on wheels.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was common. You would wheel the cart into the dining room when you were eating. You
Yep.
wheel where, and I remember her wheeling it out and making me watch that on television.
That would be fucking awesome. Yeah, that would have been cool to see. So I say this a lot because my clientele is an older clientele, and we'll get back to the cigar in a minute. But the type of life that you guys that grew up in the 60s, 70s, and 80s really got to experience is a whole different America, a whole different world than what like my generation grew up in the 90s and the 2000s, than what we got to see. There's no hitchhiking across America anymore.
You still
can't-
see them once in a while, but yeah, it's not
yeah,
common.
nobody's doing it, you know, and you got to worry about whether it's a serial killer now. You know, it used to be you could hitchhike all the way across. Oh, I want to go to Milwaukee, and you're in California. You can do that.
I got a story from my dad about that.
Yeah.
But keep going.
And so, you know, it's a whole different time now. You know, it used to take a village to raise kids, and you can't trust the village now. You know, I can't trust my village to help me raise my children. So I have to build my village little by little. You know, it's not, I can't say, oh, hey, the neighbor Gladys is home, so she can, you know, keep an eye on the kids. I can't trust that my neighbor's going to do that.
That's right. Well, because what happened, which is really interesting, is that because of the internet, now you know how crazy the village is.
Maybe that could be it.
You know, like that's good. So now you're overly cautious about it. You know, because my time coming up, you didn't know. The only thing you knew, like if you think Mark, I want to say it was Mark Twain, but I don't think it was. I think it wasn't Roy Rogers. It was Will Rogers said, if you read the papers. You either read the papers to be informed, but if you read the papers, you're misinformed. Like at the same time, you know. So it's or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. We always knew. I don't even know if that's true. What I was about to say, but people basically read the papers, and then they trusted people like Cronkite. You know, people on the news back in the day, and that's how you got your information.
Yeah.
And people watched the nightly news, and they were doing the same thing then that they do now. They were telling us what we want to hear. Oh, yeah. I think the government has been involved with the media pretty much since the inception. You can make a case that all of it was the government. Or when I say the government, I don't mean like the U.S. government. I mean just mean the people that are kind of controlling the show.
Yeah.
It's the same thing I feel in a way about religion and everything else. It's about kind of controlling what you think and keeping you under wraps and keeping you in line and telling you to do this. And the whole thing with Hollywood and everything, all the product placement and everything else. People, because it's consumerism, which is capitalism, and I'm a fan of capitalism in so much as you get to be your own boss and come up with your own idea. Pure capitalism is you and me make an arrangement. I want this, I give you this for that, and we agree on it.
that's right.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
In the old days, like the natives, they didn't have money.
Yeah.
They just traded shit. They would use shells and things like that, but that's how that worked. But now, in order to keep the economy going, you basically have to brainwash the populace into believing that they need the new car, they need the new clothes, they need all the fashion and everything.
Or you just design it all to fail, which is really what I feel we've done now, is we move into this design to fail type situation. Before we get too deep into this, though, let's finish telling everybody about the cigar.
Oh, yeah.
So this is my house infused, and what I do is I take a very neutral cigar. Thanks for coming in, boss. I take a very neutral cigar and I put it in a glass jar with an ounce of whatever I want to infuse it with. So there's specific things that you can, there's specific things that work well and things that don't. Coffee works really well, rum works really well, whiskey, bourbon, things with a high flavor work really well. So you dry your cigar out for 4 hours, right? Let it just sit out in the open. You want the cigar to be thirsty. Then you put it in the glass jar, you put call it a shot of whiskey, in the middle, and you lay all your cigars around it, and it's 2 weeks minimum. You pull the cigars out, and you can test them by smoking it, or you can just smell them. And if that's the level that you want, then you're done. Or you can leave them in a jar like I've done, like you saw. They're still in the jar, they're still fermenting, and the only thing you have to do is every day, once a day, open that lid for a couple of seconds, get some fresh air in there, and then close the lid back down.
It was a little dry. It's not dry.
Yeah.
But I could tell like the leaf on the outside, you know, towards the end wanted to peel. That's why I like to run it in my mouth a little bit first to hold it together, you know, before you cut it. I think that's important.
Yeah, as long as you're using your own cutter. Do not, so a social and cigar culture faux pas is using the house cutter after you stuck the cigar in your mouth.
Yeah.
Don't do that. A lot of people do. I spend a lot of time cleaning cutters.
Yeah.
It's okay, but it is a faux pas.
How you just piss on them and
No, I dunk them in mother's milk, you know.
well, you know, you get urine is
sterile.
antiseptic.
It's,
Well,
it's
it's funny thing. My dad, you know, he grew up in a rural area with no electricity, no running water, all that in Greece.
okay.
And so as a kid, whenever I got hurt, cut myself or something, he'd always tell me to piss on it. And that grossed me out. You know, I wasn't born in Greece with no electricity or anything. I was born here. Fucking American, right? And so, but he swore by that. And it wasn't until I was a grown-up, and I was talking to a doctor one day, and I asked him, I said, my father believes that his piss is a healing, nectar.
Right.
And he asked me, he says, did your father grow up in a rural area with no electricity? I said, yeah. He goes, that's why. He says, because generationally, they can't, it's not like somebody in his family is going to tell him this, but they've discovered that it's better to clean the wound with your own urine than it is to use water that's around, because the water's going to have microbes and other things, and that's how you get an infection.
Yeah. No, we use alcohol that I buy from Walmart. Yeah. So I clean the gutters after somebody does that.
I like how you kept this serious.
Good. No, I'm not serious. I'm just making sure the right information out there. Don't pee on my gutters.
Don't pee on the gutter.
You learn some weird shit, but I don't want to know. What you do is what you do. Just don't do it here.
I have to remind everybody, this is not a how-to channel. It's just what I'm doing. And if you don't do what I'm doing, you don't do anything I'm doing. I'm not telling you to do anything I'm doing. That's funny. I do. I have to, because people are funny about this, what they watch and what they think, which gets to that conversation we were having up at the register about how people, that whole thing about the women thing, their perception of things.
Yeah. Well, do you want to touch on that?
Sure.
Okay. So it was actually a conversation my wife and I just had earlier this week. We sat after close and we got to sit.
This is burning faster too. I'm sorry.
Yes.
It burns
it's
a lot.
It's a loose roll, and that's why it's the type of cigar that I chose.
Yeah.
So.
So you're going to do better because this is tasty and light enough where I can have another one of these.
Right after. Yeah. That's why I use a very neutral cigar. Earlier this week, my wife and I got to sit after close and just kind of have a conversation and talk.
And not have sex in the chairs.
Not have sex in the chairs. She brought it up, and I explained to her. I was like, she told me she was a little offended years ago when I told her that I took her out on a date because she was hot. And it was like, well, yeah, that's the first step. Every man in the world looks at a woman first to see if they're attracted to her. And then after that, you develop, you find out about them, and then you develop a relationship, and then you fall in love. But the initial attraction, anybody that comes up and goes, oh, I love your brain. No, they looked at your ass and your tits or whatever it is first, and they said, okay, I like those. Now let me get to know this person, and then maybe it turns into love. That's just a normal, natural progression of things.
Now, a lot of women hear that, who maybe they're just not attractive. I'm not judging. I'm just saying. They want to spin that on you and try to convince you that you're wrong for wanting to be attracted to somebody visually, which is insane. That is how it works.
Well, I'd agree with them, but then we'd both be wrong. So
it's just, I had this comment on a video, the one I did why I'm single, which is, you guys have to understand, a lot of my stuff's tongue-in-cheek, I'm having fun, I'm cracking jokes, it's not, I'm telling you what I think sometimes, but you don't really know exactly what's going on in my brain. A lot of it is just for your entertainment. But this woman accused me of being shallow, and so, yeah, I can admit to that. If that's how you want to judge it, and look at it. But the fact of the matter is that, like you just said, I've got to be attracted to you. If you could be the kindest, nicest person in the world, but if visually to me you look like you live under a bridge and eat children, I'm not going to be physically attracted to you. There's nothing you're going to do to get me excited enough to, want to be intimate with you. I'm sorry that I said that out loud, but that's the way the world is. That's just the reality.
Well, at the end of the day, humans are just animals, right? Now, animals in our world, they have pheromones, things like that. So do humans, but it's also they have eyes. A moose is not going to go try and have sex with a bear because it knows that it's incompatible.
But a Marine might have sex with a moose.
A Marine will have sex with anything.
That's right.
Jesus. You and your fucking people, bro.
If you want to destroy dead or pregnant, call the
Send
Marines.
the Marines. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you know why the Space Force is not part of the Marines branch? Because if Marines ever discovered extraterrestrial life, the first thing they try to do is fuck it.
Yeah. Well, if you're into like the ancient astronaut theory and everything, you might be able to make a case that the beings that came here from other worlds were actually Marines.
Yeah. Oh my God.
If they came here.
Yeah, space Marines. Oh my God.
Well, that's what was that? Great flick. A sci-fi flick. I guarantee you know what it was. Starship Troopers.
Oh, dude, I love that movie. It's a great fucking.
I picked up part 2, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah. Do you know there's like 5 of those?
No.
Yeah, dude. There's like
They
5
can't be
stars.
good.
I don't know. Yeah, I have the same thing. I'm like, they can't be. I don't want to waste my time
Riding it out.
But
Man.
yeah, dude, there is like 5 of those movies. It's nuts. But no. So this space people, space explorers. You were just talking about. Is that for whatever reason it's on my For You page? It's popping up. The Anunnaki or whatever.
Anunnaki, that's...
Is that what you're talking about, or is it different?
Yeah, but probably even earlier. That's just probably our earliest known. So there's this guy, Zacharias Sitchin, who translated the cuneiform writing from Mesopotamia. And so that's where we get the epic of Gilgamesh and all these stories, and all these ancient stories that are later retold in the Bible. This is what's crazy, is that all the stories that are in the Bible existed previously by thousands of years with people of other names. And so this Billy Carson guy is great. Have you heard of Billy Carson yet?
No, I don't think so.
Happens to be a black guy, just so you know, because I mentioned this before. When you hear the name Billy Carson, for some reason that doesn't conjure up this. What's interesting about this guy is he had some. I think it was his mother or his aunt or somebody when he was a little kid. She exposed him to the idea of beings coming here from other worlds, and that they've been coming here for thousands and thousands of years.
Okay.
And then he had his own weird little experience as a kid. And this came out later in interviews. Like, I didn't know any of that. But this is why he was kind of motivated to read all these ancient texts. But he's got this crazy brain where his recall, he can recall what he's read. And he's been able to cross-reference all of these stories.
Kind of like eidetic memory?
Huh?
Like eidetic memory, like photographic memory?
Well,
or
yeah. What was the word you used?
Eidetic?
Eidetic.
Yeah. That's what it's actually called.
That's what it's actually called?
Yeah.
Fucking Navy, man. Surprising as hell. Really, I got a pretty decent vocabulary.
Yeah.
But that's a new one on me. Eidetic.
Yeah.
Eidetic.
Eidetic memory.
Eidetic memory. Look that up. Make a comment down there and tell me if he's telling me the truth, because he might just be fucking with me, because that's what the Navy likes to do with the Marine Corps.
Well, you know why the Marines have such a pretty uniform, right?
Why is that?
Because the Navy always like to dress its bitches up.
You know how you always say the Marine Corps is the department of the Navy?
The men's
It's the
department.
fucking men's department.
That's fine. I'm good with that.
I love this shit. It's funny, I mentioned this before. My uncle was a Seabee. He did 2 tours in Vietnam.
Jesus.
Yeah, he was there for 10. Yeah.
Okay.
And talking to my uncle, well, first of all, he never talked to me. He never said more than a few sentences to me at a time.
Ulysses, we'll see you, brother. Appreciate you.
My entire life, they were talking. But when I got out, I had kind of estranged myself from that part of the family for about 6 years prior. So I went to a Christmas when I came, probably the first Christmas when I got out, maybe the second, I don't know. But I kind of reconnected with that side of my family, my mother's side of the family. And he started talking to me like I served with him. Like he treated me like a man, all that. And so years go by, and I started talking to him about his experience in Vietnam, and then in particular, what he thought about movies. Oliver Stone flicks, all that sort of thing. And he was really irked by a lot of it. Because he's like, yeah, that's what Marines all the time. He said, I never saw Marines doing drugs.
Yeah. But they'll that's what sells in a movie.
Yeah.
You know? It's,
But you will notice most of the time it is Army that are doing that. Like in Platoon, that was Army. You know?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not saying the Marines didn't do it, but I'll tell you a story. These guys know it already, but and I want to hear your story.
Okay.
So, like why I went in the Marine.
Okay.
So I was a kid. We all started off as kids.
Yep.
We all started off as children.
I hope.
And I was wired for it. But I grew up hearing these stories from my dad. He's a child soldier and all that. And everybody in my family had been in the military, been in war and all that. And so that was it. I was just one of those kids running around playing Army. Right?
Yep.
And so I was in the hospital as a kid. I was probably around 11 or 12 years old. Pediatric section was full, so they put me in the room with an adult. And he had been a combat infantry Vietnam Army.
Jesus. All right.
And this was like, this would have been like 77. So I was going to be 11 years old that year. And I think it was the summer of that year, 77. That's the year my sister was born. So I'm in the room and this guy was awesome. He talked to me like I was an adult. And he'd crack up. We used to watch Benny Hill together, all of them. And one day he got real serious with me because I kept saying I want to go in the Army, I want to go in the Army.
Right.
And he said, look, man. He's talking to a 10-year-old. He says, if you're serious and you want to have that experience, like go to war on it. He says, you don't go in the Army. He says, you go in the Marine Corps. And then he went off on this whole diatribe of why he believed that. And he said that his experience was in Vietnam that the enemy knew the difference.
Yeah.
And he said they would go out on patrol, they'd get ambushed all the time, guys would die, there's guys that were stoned, all that, not taking it seriously, everything else. He said the Marines are going to train you to be a professional killer.
Yep.
Period. They're not fucking around. The guy on your left, the guy on your right, same mindset, same mission, the whole deal. He says you have a better chance of survival when everybody in your unit has that mindset. And he said when the Marines would go, he said they rarely get ambushed. He said because if the Marines got ambushed, he said they would stay out in the bush and they would track everybody down until they killed everybody. If they got to a fucking village, they'd fucking kill everybody. And that's how the enemy learned to not screw with them.
And yeah, I mean, I could see that, especially back then. I think nowadays it's much more closely related.
It's a little bit closer, but I'll tell you, that guy that tried to get me into his unit in 2007, 2008, the Provisional Reconstruction teams, he loves Marines.
Right.
And he has a
Well, Marines are a different breed.
but he had this quite a few stories where he gets real serious about it. He said he'd be on base, and these Marines would come in, and they'd be bringing in their dead buddies and everything. They'd be covered in blood. He said all they would do is go eat, gear up, and go back out and take care of the guys that killed their friends. And like without, like they do this, and then they go right back out to take care of that shit. So that was his experience. So why did you go in the Navy?
So I joined the Navy. So I have 3 uncles. They were all in the Marines. My father was in the Navy. He was a Seaman.
Cool.
Yeah. And the short story is that we were sitting around one day on Dad's brand new big screen. Remember the old big screens that came in on wheels?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, those
You mean like the big? It was
monstrosities.
still a box.
Yeah, the projector big screens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he had just got like a 48-inch or whatever was the big one at the time. And we're sitting there and we were watching G.I. Jane. No kidding, G.I. Jane. And Viggo Mortensen comes on the screen, and he's a Master Chief Navy SEAL. And I asked my dad, and I was like 7 years old, something like that. And I said, Dad, who's that? And he goes, well, that's a Master Chief Navy SEAL. And what he said next is the reason that I joined the Navy, other than my dad was in the Navy and I wanted to be like my dad. He said a Master Chief Navy SEAL is the best thing that you could ever hope to be in your life. And so from that day forward, I chose to be, see you boss, thanks for coming in.
How much is this box?
Take it,
I need another box of parts.
take it. All yours, brother.
Gone.
Appreciate you, George. Be safe, sir. And so when he told me that from that day on, that was my plan for my life. At 12 years old, I knew that was, from 7 to 12, it was, okay, I'm gonna join the Navy. At 12, it was, I'm gonna join the Navy, I'm not gonna have any kids until I'm this age, I'm gonna retire, and then I'm gonna go do this, and I had my whole life planned out at 12. But from 7 until 18, I was training to go to buds. I was swimming, I was running, I was playing football, I was lifting weights, I was running cross country. I was doing all of this stuff that I thought that would get me into buds, and that I would be able to make it. Some stuff happened, I wasn't able to go and class up, but I was still able to join the Navy and drop into what they called a SEAL source rating. Back when I joined, you could only become a Navy SEAL from certain jobs. And so when I got to pick my 3 ratings, it was Navy SEAL, and Mineman. And
Mineman?
Mineman, mine warfare, yeah. Because we deal with explosives. And so when I couldn't make the SEALs, they dropped me into mine warfare.
But I want to hear it, but that's in World War II. The UDD guys became the Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
That was their thing, was explosives.
Yeah.
They were blowing obstacles on beaches and that sort of thing.
Yeah, you know, and so I I became a lineman. Eventually, I got a little older. I met my wife. I had a couple of kids. I realized
You married her while you were in the Navy.
Yeah. My wife made it through 3 deployments with me.
Was she in the military?
No, she just.
She looks like she could have been.
Uh,
Like she's still in shape and everything.
well, yeah. I mean,
But she's very direct. She's got a good bearing about her. She's not shy. You know.
No, yeah, she never has been. That's definitely always been Donna's personality. She's very direct. She can be mean, but she's also very
She
sweet.
interjects herself into the conversation.
Oh yeah, she's
without-
not afraid.
Yeah, it's awesome.
You know, and then she's been married to a sailor for 15 years, so that's definitely helped.
Is there a program for women like that to help them cope?
Yeah, it's after we die, and then I don't know what it is. Then go find someone else, I'm sure. But
I just use my hands.
maybe you won't be the first one. So, you know, but yeah, instead of going into the SEALs, I became a rescue soldier. You know, when I realized, okay, the SEAls are no longer a thing I'm going to do, and
You must have been freaking jacked at that.
well, I was
Ripped,
100,
right?
yeah, I was 185 pounds and about 9% body fat.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I was.
This guy was a stud. That's how you landed her.
Well, yeah, no, I'm still pretty. What are you talking about? I wake up gorgeous every
What
morning.
did I say? Did I say the wrong thing?
Hey, look, I wake up every morning and I look in the mirror and I go, "Fuck, I'm gorgeous."
Yeah.
You know, because if you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else, and I love me more than anyone. You know, it's. I tell my wife all the time.
That's a healthy attitude.
Yeah. You know, it's the same thing I tell my kids too, in a much more serious way. But it's you have to love yourself before you can love anyone. You know, when you have teenagers that are dating, which I have. She's 17 and she's a girl. You know,
It's so funny. Like this guy is, because you're pretty young. How old are you?
36.
You saw the video the other day. His kids come up, but you don't see his daughter. And his daughter's 17-year-old tall. I thought that was his wife. Like, that's the crazy thing. Because the kid, they're all fair. Because your wife has dark hair and everything, but the kids all are more like you.
Yeah, all my kids are blonde hair, blue eyed.
Yeah. Yeah, it totally threw me off.
Yeah.
And then because I was like, "Who's that?" I was like, "Oh, that's my wife."
Yeah. No, yeah.
Glad I didn't
wife-
say anything else.
she'd have gone with it. She'd have laughed at you. Both my wife and I know where our feelings go. We don't care. She knows that women, you know, will flirt with me, and we actually have.
Women still flirt with you?
Oh yeah. I just don't care. I don't have the energy to train another one.
Yeah, like to train another one.
Yeah, you know, it's been 15 years with this one. My wife, she says it all the time. She's like, when we die, she's getting a double wide casket where she sits in front of me face to face. She's going to sing "Row, row, row your boat" for eternity. And then I remind her gently.
I like this chick.
Yeah, I remind my wife gently that
Gently
the
down
deal
the
I
street?
made. No. The deal I made was till death do us part. When I die, we're done. I get to go to heaven, and you know, we'll do whatever. Maybe heaven. I don't know. But the deal is till death do us part.
Just so you know, we never die. You're a pure light being, and you never die. You just leave this current existence and you go to the next thing.
I don't think I want to repeat, man.
Well, you don't. You can't comprehend it.
Yeah.
As it right now.
There's so many theories, you know, because none of us really know what happens. Obviously, none of us know at all. We all have theories. We all have what we want. We all have what we think, and it's incredibly personal. I think how you think it's going to be when you do pass on. Does it go dark? Is there another plane of existence? Do you go meet the big guy in the sky? Do you go meet the little red guy with horns down below? You know, nobody has any idea.
That's all
We're all just
religion.
kind of hoping.
That's all religion.
Yeah, well, I mean, then there's science, right? There's the science that says matter's never destroyed.
That's right.
You know, so you just become, your energy is released, we go out into the universe, and then at some other point it coalesces, and maybe you become part of a planet or a star. I have no idea. What I know is that I'm here, and I'm doing what I can do. I personally don't subscribe to any religions because I love the moral compass and some of the things that religion institutes in a person.
That there's all the positive sides of it.
Yeah, but I don't need that in order to be a moral person. And so,
Innately, I think, even like you don't have to be a genius to know this. Innately, you know the difference between right and wrong, good
yeah,
and evil.
I think so. Yeah.
Unless you're fucking cracked.
Yeah, right. Then that's a whole different story.
Those suckers come in.
A little bit, yeah.
Is it?
That's the trick, right there. So otherwise, you just do a touch-up. So yeah, if you get a little burn, that might have been a dry spot.
Take the lighter, you mean?
Yep, do the lighter and then go around the edge, and you just finish it up.
Well, this comes from, you know what that comes from. Back in the day.
Yep.
Not smoking cigars.
Well, on the cigars. So have you ever seen that old guy that pulls a cigar out of a box in an old Western or whatever, and they lick the entire thing from cap to foot, and they slobber all over it, and then they cut and light it? So I still have, to this day, a lot of people that come in and I watch them do this. And if they want to do it, fine, and all that, but I generally I'll ask them why. Oh, well, that's what you do. It's like, well, you know why that was done.
Yeah, they didn't have a humidor.
Right, exactly. Back in the days of the Old West, you'd get your cigar off out of a box on top of the bar, and there was no humidity, there was no preserving the tobacco, and so you had to lick it. Nowadays, with walk-in humidors and all the technology and the understanding that we have with this plant, you don't have to do that anymore.
Well, yeah, I've seen something about that. I got it. It's going. It's almost done.
All right.
See, I know what I'm doing. I'm a man. Thanks, Dad. It's normal. It's normal. Navy guys see Marines. They gotta. They just think we're stupid.
What is it? Tropes exist for a reason. Stereotypes exist for a reason. There's always an example. Yeah, there's always an example. Just like your story with the Navy guys. There's a reason those jokes are made. There's always an example.
I don't think they heard that one.
Oh.
I might have told this. I don't know.
Brother,
Absolutely.
enjoy your weekend, man.
You as well. Appreciate you coming in.
Hey, always a pleasure.
Same. Be safe out there. We'll see you soon.
We're trying.
I told Matt a story about Seal Beach and how, I don't know if you said this or not, but it's been mentioned already. There wasn't not a gate at the docks to go directly into Seal Beach. You got to walk all the way to the front gate. And so we would catch...
Which is like 4 miles, by the way.
It was a pretty good walk.
Yeah,
is it that much? It's pretty... Yeah, it might be, I don't know, whatever.
It's a really far off. You get from the pier all the way to Seal Beach Road to then make a left and come out of the base. That is long. I mean, you're looking it's probably closer to 2.5 or 3, but it's a long haul if you're on foot.
Yeah. So we would park in the shadows down there and wait for guys to hop the fence, smack around a little bit, throw them over the fence because they were drunk anyhow.
Yeah.
It was fun for everybody, really, when you think about it. Because then they got a story to tell.
Right.
And so we were parked down there one time, me and a partner, we were sitting in the truck, we hear the fence, we watch these guys, and we're waiting for them to get in the right spot to where we can kind of get out there and deal with it. But they stop in the shadows, and they start making out with one another. And they're holding hands, and they're groping one another, the whole thing. And we were just in such shock. We just looked at each other. I was in the passenger seat, and I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, what do we do?
We just let it happen. It was just so...
That's right, just let it happen.
Just let it happen. And then they held hands as they walked through the shadows after that. Until once they got into the light, they released hands, they separated, and walked over to the boat.
Yeah.
And that was wild, man. And again, that's not... I don't judge or anything like that. But
No,
at that time, I don't...
Yeah, I mean, that was what, mid-'80s?
Yeah,
so
it was
not as
1986.
Common. Yeah, so it's not as common to see.
You were on boats, right?
Yeah, I was on Minesweepers.
So, I've never been on a minesweeper.
Okay.
Can you describe that as far as size goes and what the crew size is?
Yeah.
It's like an aircraft carrier is like a city.
Yeah, it's a floating city. There's so much. Minesweeper is 224 feet long, 36 feet wide, and 93 and some inches tall, right? It's a crew of 84 to 86 people, generally. And then so you've got 8 officers, 8 to 10 chiefs, I think. I'm trying to remember. I used to know all this by heart, and it's been a decade. And then the rest is all enlisted crewmen, E6 and below. So very small crew. A lot of Navy guys, if there's any that watch the show, will know that most Navy guys, especially on bigger ships, don't see their captain a lot. They might see him once a day or once a
the
week.
mayor.
Yeah, exactly. You just don't see the captain. You hear his voice on the 1MC, but that's it. And then you see him at all hands.
How many decks on a minesweeper?
Let's see. You had 5 total, 03 level, and then you had 1 and 2. So it's not a very big boat. It's a big tugboat. Minesweepers are meant to tow a bunch of heavy gear through the water, so max speed is very low.
How did they get minesweepers to the other side of the planet then? I mean, they just go by themselves? Were they being towed?
So both. When they first started deploying minesweepers in the Middle East, they were sailing them over, and you don't have enough stores, food, or fuel to make it across the pond on a minesweeper. So you had this whole group with you. You had a fueling ship, you had a storage ship that you would do on alongside replenishment, stern refueling, and you're bringing on food every 4, 5, 6 days, whatever it was. And that was all before my time.
Sure.
And they realized that this isn't conducive. So once they got the ships over there, they just left them. But the other way that they get them is there's a ship that's it's like a barge ship almost, or a yard ship that actually sinks, and they sail the smaller ship onto it, and then it pumps all the water out and raises up. And it's a boat in a boat, and they send that over.
You just made me think of something totally separate, but there's this. I have a friend of mine, and he has a son. And he wanted to become a union electrician. He may have done it by now, but he likes to smoke a lot of grass.
Okay.
And it was really funny. I went home, I'm hanging out with my friends, and I'm living in the van when I go home. And I park in my friends' parking lots. And once in a while I'll get an apartment for a week or something because it's free or whatever.
Yeah. Living in a van down by the river.
Yeah, I love it. It's a life goal. So I'm hanging out with their parents. This is really funny. They'll know who I'm talking about. They went to the prom together, senior prom, as friends. We sat at the same table, but they were just friends. All these decades go by, and they meet at a party. I was the party guy. I lived alone since I was a freshman in high school.
Right.
So I had all the parties at my house, and these people get together today, and they have a party at this other girl's house now who lives in Point Pleasant. And the rules are you have to be a Central Regional graduate from 1985. So if you're married, your spouse doesn't go.
Oh wow.
But there's nothing nefarious going on.
Yeah, a little upside pineapple.
No, nothing crazy going on. It's just they're having a good time. They're still smoking grass, having drinks, just like we did in high school. It's so much fun. And so because they both graduated the same year, they went to the party. They were both married to other people, but they were unhappy. They ended up hooking up. Getting divorced from their significant others, and then now they're together, and their adult children moved into the house. And this is during COVID and all that.
Oh, so this is recent.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And so they had this room down in the basement, and the kids are down there, and it's like that '70s show. So they got this setup down there. So I said, I'm going to go down there and hang out with the kids. Old guy. So I go down there, and these kids all have jobs.
Right.
They're all making money, like good jobs. Electrician, one guy was a FedEx delivery guy, one chick works for this company, IT. Like they all make money. So they're buying like the best quality weed they could get, which compared to you smoke grass?
No, I do not.
So they can get the good stuff. I go down there and they're just smoking and pass around, and I'm listening to them all talk, getting a read on all these different young people, and I finally interject. I go, "You guys are doing this all wrong. All right, you pass one thing around, you get the buzz, you put it down, and then everybody starts talking about whatever. Everybody has a say, and once you start making sense again, then you smoke a little bit, and then you prolong. Otherwise, you're just pissing your money away. And then as I was listening to them, I was like, I heard what you said here, try this. And one guy was a great storyteller, very funny. And he wasn't stoked with his job, but he had all these great stories about it. And I said, dude, you should be writing that down, or you should be doing a YouTube channel. And I just kept doing that. And then I was getting paranoid, like, I'm this old guy telling everybody what they should be doing.
Yeah.
And I said, the next day I ran into this guy's son, which I still got to get to the Navy part of this.
Uh-huh.
And I asked him, I said, dude, is everything okay? Did I cross the line? And he said, no. He said, dude, when you left, everybody couldn't stop talking about it. Like it was, everybody was really stoked about the advice, and you were right about the smoking and everything else. Now this kid, when he was in high school, he had a tour. He went to a Navy ship. I don't remember what it was. I think it was a battleship.
Okay.
And he had all these pictures of Navy stuff, and all he was really enamored by all the equipment and the different vehicles and all of it. And I said to him, I said, dude, you could be operating that equipment.
Yeah.
You could be doing it right now if you could just stop smoking grass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that you can go in and pass a piss test and everything and change your life.
Yeah.
But it is, I think it's a mistake in a way these days with it. Like, I'm glad that it's legal for the most part,
Right.
and there's not a stigma attached to it anymore.
Yeah.
But I think young people today, with the quality of it and everything else, if they can get, I'm going to use the word addicted, but I don't mean it in like, it's not like heroin or something. It doesn't have that
Right.
exact same effect on it. But if you can break yourself free of that, you can learn things. You can have a better life. I think he was having a hard time getting into the union too because of it.
Yeah. Well, anything that your body does not naturally produce that you introduce to your body, and I mean, that's marijuana, that's nicotine, that's anything. Your body can become, to not use the word addicted, it can become accustomed to it. You know, and it can begin to crave it or need it in some way. Melanin. I have.
What did you say?
Melanin or melatonin.
Yeah, melatonin. This is another word you're making up to try to make yourself sound smarter?
What, is it melatonin the one that makes you go to
Melatonin,
sleep?
yes, yeah.
Yeah. So the gummies that everybody takes to go to sleep. You know, if you start those at too young of an age, your brain goes, oh, I'm getting this from an external source. I no longer need to produce it. And so if you do that, now your body, it almost forgets how to produce it, and you have to take more and more of these gummies in order to go to sleep and get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
So like, I don't use those gummies to go to bed. You know, I don't drink to go to sleep.
Yeah.
I don't smoke weed just simply because I never really have. I tried it like way back in 2004 before I joined the Navy, and it wasn't my thing. And then I joined the Navy. Obviously can't do it there. Then I worked for Intel. Can't do that there. You know, and now that I'm out and I own my own business, yeah, sure I could, but I no longer have the desire to try. And then really the way I justify it is the stuff from 2004 that I tried and the stuff from 2024 that's around now is wholly different. The science behind it, what they're doing, how they're changing all of that. I don't want to meet me on that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's
You bring up
way
a
too
third
much.
thing, you made me think something, because I tried to post a link to this the other day, and I did share it on my Facebook page. There's an LA Times article from maybe a week ago or so about I forget the title, but there's a skull made out of weed with like 2 cross joints under it. So look for this article, latimes.com, and it's the problems with the new weed, but it's not about how strong it is. It's about how they're growing it. And this is something a grower turned me on to. A friend of mine has been growing it for over 30 years.
Oh wow.
He's got a strain that's over 30 years old. It's amazing. And it was this stuff called phospholate. But basically, the fertilizers, things that they're using, they leave little particulate metals in it, and it makes the plant way more. So they're making more money selling it to the dispensaries and everything, but you're smoking that shit. And now they're finding all these health issues with dispensary marijuana. So I try to tell everybody, don't smoke the stuff from the dispensaries. You're better off finding that. And also, it doesn't taste that good because it still has all these things in it. Whereas like, if you find a guy that grows and knows what he's doing, there's a thing called rinsing, where for like up to a month before you harvest it, you do nothing but give it water, which flushes all the stuff out of the plant, and then it smells like flowers and it tastes like flowers. It's a lot healthier for you. Again, you know, I'm not a wake and bake guy. I don't do it every day. I haven't done it since I've been here.
Yeah.
You know, this whole trip, no problem. I'm not going through withdrawals or anything like that. It's, you know.
Yeah, I support the legalization and the use and all that. If people want to do that, fine. I have no issues with it. I have lots of friends that are wake and bake guys or an all-day guys.
Me too.
Yeah, it's just not.
It does have an effect on some of the stuff that they're doing with their lives to a certain extent. And not everybody's wired the same chemically in their brains.
Yeah.
So like a lot of guys, like I have a cousin like this, like they're just the paranoia. Like the stuff that they invent in their minds that they then believe. Which he could have been predisposed to that. My family's fucking
Tell them,
crazy.
Mary, I don't listen
Like
to
they're the most, a lot of them are like that.
Yeah, you're Greek.
It's not the Greek side.
Oh,
No, the Greek side's straight, man. Like they're down with any of that shit.
okay.
No. It's my mom's side of the family, the Americans. Yeah, but yeah, there's a thing about that. So I'm scared of that sort of thing. So I don't do anything on any extreme, and I'm
Yeah.
not even a big drinker. Last night I had 4 pints
Oh,
of Guinness.
Yeah.
Guinness is my thing if I'm going to go out somewhere. But that's the first time I sat at a bar. She was gambling.
yeah.
I went with Patricia, the lady who bought the table, took me into Vegas to the Palms for dinner. I ate something that totally screwed my system.
Yeah.
And then she went to sit at a slot machine. We had to wait for a guy to fly in. She was picking up a guy from the airport. She just roped me into this shit with the free dinner.
Uh-huh.
You know, I'm such a sucker. Because we left here at like 6:30 and get home till 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, that's a trip, bro. Well, it's Vegas. Anytime you go to Vegas, it's a full day.
Well, last night was the first time I sat at a bar having a Guinness since I was in Jersey last, which is a few years ago.
Okay.
You know, and I don't drink at night or anything like
Right.
that. You know, I'm not a booze guy. Like you saw me bring the Jack Daniels in here that day because I had it in the van.
Yeah,
when I
you
went
had
camping.
a finger or two.
Yeah. I was dipping the cigar in it.
Yeah.
It seemed like the right thing to do at the time. And,
Yeah, I mean, if you want to ruin your cigar, it's up to you. You pay for it.
well, it adds a little flavor just like this.
Yeah, I know.
You know, it's
I'll
nothing
just
wrong.
bust your balls.
Doesn't bother me. And with that, we're going to take a little break. I want to check this out, and I want to use the head and some naval terminology.
Yep.
Still
Yep.
using it.
I still use it.
Ladder well, hatch, you know,
Yep.
all this good stuff. What's a good one? The poop deck?
Nah, it's not really used.
What is the poop deck?
Well,
It's not where you poop. It's not what you think.
It's.
It could be. I don't know.
I would say I think what it was is it was just the very back of the ship. I think it was what we call the fantail now, but I don't know. I've never looked up the terminology, and it's not one that was used while I was in. But that's kind of, I think, back from the sailing days. You know.
That's something I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay.
Like you, because I'm into that, like pirates and all that. Like I love, and yeah, I've looked at the cross-cut sections of those ships and
Oh,
how
yeah,
they
they're amazing.
lived and
Yeah.
the rules and having, you know, dude, jaundice was a thing, man. Like they would have to find these islands to find the right kind of food so they can
Yeah.
be healthy and get water. It's just an amazing
Yeah.
the way that we navigate. Keep in mind that we now have the evidence that thousands of years ago, maybe even tens of thousands of years ago, people were navigating the seas.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's what I love about what's happening today, especially with the internet, because people are discovering all this stuff, is that we're learning that humans did pretty advanced stuff
Right.
way earlier than we were told.
Yeah.
You know, and we know now that everything that they were telling us when I was a kid in school, none of it's true.
You know, it's, well, you know, you live and learn.
Let's take a break real quick,
All right.
even though she just went to the bathroom there.
She saved you.
All right. Oh, this is getting pretty long, so we're gonna end it here. But I wanted to point something out in those comments. Oh, hey, I'm good. I had that monster.
So you
No,
want
no,
some?
I'm good. I'm good. But I was telling Matt that in the comments from the video I did the other day where I delivered the table, then I came in here and we had that chat where we're in the humidor. The comments towards Matt and the plays and people learning about cigars were all positive. And then tell me what you just said.
Well, one, I appreciate that. Yeah, a lot of you guys have jumped on and followed Low Side Cigar Lounge, and I appreciate that. And then I've even got a couple of emails for some merch and all that. I got the pictures. I'm going to respond to those guys and all that, so I can mail that stuff out if anybody wants a T-shirt from Low Side that has Pahrump on the bottom. I've got hats and coffee cups, women's T-shirts, men's T-shirts. So it's just, I really appreciate the support. Thank you guys.
Yeah, and he's going to give me 10% of all profits for the. But I wanted to say there was one comment that was really funny, but it was good. So I wanted to address it real quick. This is a pretty long video, and I hope you guys can even hear what we're saying. But some guy said YouTubers make the worst interviewers.
Bro, I laughed. Yeah,
that was funny.
chuckling.
That was funny.
Yep.
The thing is like, I'm not a journalist, and it's not all about that. The channel, I got to interject myself, but I try not to be, because Sarah gets a lot of flack.
Yeah.
Whenever she has me on her channel, the comments under her videos are really funny because people give her a ton of shit because they're like, she cuts you off and she doesn't let you finish anything and she interjects too much and da 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 da. It doesn't bother me because we have a funny repertoire,
right?
And I said I'm like Dean Martin, I'm the straight man in that thing, and it's fine with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously I have to interject myself in there and crack some jokes and things like that because this is not a Vice show or a PBS program.
Right. It's a natural conversation. People talk just like me. I jump in where you pause just a millisecond too long, and now I've taken over. It's that natural thing, and that's kind of what you want to go for. If we want to do a structured interview and question answer, we can.
Yeah.
But it's not fun. You're going to sit here and bust each other's balls, talk like we would be talking if there wasn't a camera in front of us.
That's right.
And that's really what a cigar lounge is about. Is sitting, talking. You get to meet people that in any other situation you'd never meet. There would have been no way for you and me to ever meet each other if it wasn't for Patricia and then the Cigar Lounge.
Yeah.
If you hadn't seen the Cigar Lounge way back in April and said, I'm going to pop in, you never would have met initially.
And really, it all comes from Sarah.
Yeah.
Because we met, and then she had me go someplace to meet her, and then we became friends, and then she invited me out to that thing, which is where Patricia met me. And Patricia and her husband, they were actually a fan of my channel. They didn't go to see her. They went to, not that it's about me, but that was the reality of it. And yeah, so the way that organically that all this is happening, and by the way, with the channel, this right here is what I want to do more of. So that's it for now. Thanks for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed that in the Cigar Lounge. The Low Side Cigar Lounge, again in Pahrump, Nevada. This was fun, and you'll see more of this on my channel in a different setting, obviously. But that's it for now. Have a great day. Thanks for being here. Be good to one another. I'll catch you on the next one.
See you guys.
Double down.